and those of you that are appearing on Zoom. I just want to go over a few things before we get started with our meeting today. I hope, first off, that you were able to enjoy the last couple of days of the nice spring weather before the colder and fall weather. That's true, fall weather, not spring. I'm getting ahead of myself. A couple of things that are coming up that I want to draw your attention to is that on Tuesday, November 11th, the League of Women Voters of Missouri has started what they call their Power Hour, and it's by Zoom. And we had the information in the last e-voter that you could go in and you could register to attend. And it's going to be a fascinating subject because it's on Medicaid cuts in Missouri. Who loses health care? And it will be interesting, especially because we have Greg Woodhams and Elizabeth Franklin from the Kansas City League, who are also on the Missouri board, are the ones that are going to be heading up that discussion on Tuesday evening. So if you have time from 6:30 to 7:30, go in and register for what they call the Power Hour, done by the League of Women Voters of Missouri. Let's remember our veterans. Also on November 11th, we all probably have family members or friends or acquaintances, coworkers who have served in the past, who might be serving now. And we want to thank them for the service that they have provided us. There will not be a membership meeting in December or January, but I want you to know that does not mean that nobody's working, because the board and committee chairs are already going to be starting their program planning for 2026. It's just that we're not going to have our members come out to a meeting or attend a meeting those times. But so we want to take this time at least to wish you happy holidays, happy winter, whatever you do, however you celebrate with families or friends. We want to wish you a great December and great January if we don't see you. However, another little tidbit to add in there is if you have time and want to be able to do something to help the league, there are all types of ways you can be involved, from the simple to the ones that might take a little bit more time. If you have questions on how you can do that, I'm going to tell you to contact Laura Marcus Mountjoy or her committee, and they'd be happy to advise you about some things that you can help be doing for the league during the next couple of months. I think that's it for me right now. I'll have a little bit more at the end. Our first speaker today is Greg Woodhams from the Kansas City League, and he's going to be talking to us about the initiative petition that was passed by the legislature this last second extraordinary session. What it means, what it stands for, how it affects us, how it affects the process. So I'm going to turn this over to Greg, and I think he's going to control the slides from his own computer.
Okay, good morning. Can everybody that is on the Zoom give a thumbs up if you can hear me? All right, thank you, Rita. Now, the next step, I'm going to share my screen. And if you can give me a thumbs up if you see a screen that says Stop Truth Decay. All right, good. All right, one more step here. All right, we are ready to go here. So today we're going to talk about Amendment 4. Okay, it has a new name now. And that's the ballot measure that has the potential to practically eliminate Missouri's citizens' constitutional right to initiate and approve legislation. And so what I'm going to do here is give you some background on how ballot measures work in Missouri. And what I'm going to do is highlight some very important parts of it. And then we're going to talk about how restrictive Amendment 4 is. Then we're going to talk about the deceptive language in the amendment and current litigation. And then we're going to close by talking about how we might educate voters over the next 12 months. Okay, so for this presentation, I've taken slides from our ballot measures presentations that we've used, that the Voter Education Committee has used in the last election cycles. And I want to give special thanks to Elizabeth Darr, Melanie Bussey, and Laura Marcus Mountjoy for the work that they put in building that deck, which has proved to have some staying power. So let's go through some highlights of that deck. And what remains true is that in next November's general election, voters will be selecting their Missouri state senators and U.S. and Missouri representatives. And in addition, voters will face a number of. And to reiterate, it gives us a say in our government. Many believe that it's our right and our duty to actively participate in our democracy. We want our voices heard. And ballot measures give Missouri voters the opportunity and power to directly decide on matters that affect their daily lives. And because whether ballot measures come from the legislature or through citizens' initiative, the final decision on the measure is reserved specifically to the voters. Not all citizens can independently change their state constitutions. Missouri is one of only 26 states where citizens can do so. Our current constitution was written in 1945 and has been amended 119 times. Now, I'm going to go off script here a little bit. This is one of the most underappreciated dimensions of Missouri's initiative petition process. I've done a lot of tabling, and I'm sure that many of you that have done tabling about the initiative petition process, you know, a lot of times when we talk to folks, talk to voters, they'll say, oh yeah, that petition thing, or yeah, that thing where people ask for signatures outside of the supermarket. And then when we say, did you know that people in Texas don't have this? Or did you know that people in Kansas don't have this right? More often than not, they'll say, oh, I did not know that. So this is underappreciated, and voters need to know this. Okay, so citizen initiative petitions. Both citizens and the legislature can propose constitutional amendments. Citizens can attempt to change the Constitution by submitting an initiative petition. The legislature can propose an amendment through a process similar to passing new bills. Now, an initiative petition can be started by a citizen or an organization, and if a sufficient number of signatures is gathered, the proposed amendment is placed on the statewide ballot for voter approval. Now, thinking back to last year, in November 24, Amendment 3 concerning reproductive health care is an example of a citizen's initiative petition that was on the November 2024 ballot, and it was approved by the voters. Okay, so now is where things get complicated. There are 4 main steps to a citizen initiative getting on the ballot. Step 1, a citizen or an organization starts the process by submitting an initiative petition to the Secretary of State's office. And the Secretary of State's office approves the petition form and prepares the official ballot summary language, and the state auditor prepares a fiscal note summary. Okay. I'm going to highlight there that it's not the people that craft the petition that create the ballot language. It's the Secretary of State's office. Then the Secretary of State certifies the official ballot title. Again, notice the Secretary of State does that, which consists of the ballot and fiscal note summaries. The official ballot title will be on your ballot. Remember that. The official ballot title must follow the single subject rule and use fair ballot language. Remember that. Ballot summary language and fair ballot language are very important for Amendment 4. Fair ballot language is written by the Missouri Secretary of State and it is defined by Missouri law. To be fair, the language has to be a true and impartial statement of the effect of a yes or no vote, not intentionally argumentative, and not likely to bias the voter for or against the proposed measure, and state whether the measure will increase, decrease, or have no impact on taxes. So the lines here, the bullet point lines that I have in red, are totally relevant to Amendment 4. So once on the ballot, a simple majority of votes is needed for passage. And I've got in here for now, because this is what could change. It's not easy to get a citizen initiative before the voter, contrary to some arguments. Between 2010 and 2020, less than 4% of the ballot initiatives that were filed by citizens were certified by the Secretary of State's office. However, once certified, the odds of passage improve. In the last 50 years, 66% of the certified ballot initiatives were approved. For example, in 2020, a ranked choice voting initiative petition failed to get the required number of signatures, while the recreational marijuana initiative was certified only on appeal. Okay, so here we get to the matter at hand. In each of the last 4 years, the legislature has proposed measures to restrict the initiative process. And this summer, in a special session, the legislature passed a proposed constitutional amendment that, if approved, would change the threshold for approval from a simple majority of voters statewide to a majority of voters statewide and a majority in each and every of the state's 8 congressional districts. And we will see this measure on the November 2026 ballot. Now, of note, the proposed legislation does not make it more difficult for proposed amendments written by the legislature. It does not add the requirement of approval in each of the state's 8 congressional districts for constitutional amendments that originate in the legislature. Now, the proposed changes are highly restrictive. Per a Missouri Independent article, only about 5% of the statewide vote could prevent a measure from passing. So again, this is important. I'm going to read this verbatim. During last year's general election, there were 312,000 votes cast in the 1st district out of the state's nearly 3 million votes. So 156,000 voters, or about 5.3% of the statewide vote, could prevent a measure from passing. So why do some people want to make this process more difficult? Those in favor of making the process more difficult say that the current threshold is too low. Number 2, it's used to advance legislation that the legislature opposes, and interests from outside of Missouri have used the initiative process. And what about people who are against making the initiative process more difficult? They say the citizen initiative process has served different parties over the years. Increased requirements would make the effort nearly impossible for most groups to achieve, and as a result, the voice and the will of the people in a democracy would be silenced. It is easier for the legislature to advance constitutional amendments. And before I move on, it's important to highlight here that the initiative process has served both parties and many different types of group, and this will show how that is important in 2026. So Missouri is not alone in seeing attempts to restrict the citizens' initiative. 26 states have seen laws advanced to restrict citizen initiatives, and most recently proposals by the South Dakota and Ohio legislatures to restrict the initiative process were rejected by voters. Now, the proposed constitutional amendment in Amendment 4 comes with a summary that voters see when they cast their ballots. In the case of the proposed amendment, which is misleadingly called Protect Missouri Voters, the first 3 bullet points of the summary don't mention the bill's intent of making it more difficult for citizen initiatives to pass. Instead, the first 3 bullet points are already state law, and many call this ballot candy. The ballot summary has 5 bullet points with the key restrictive language buried in the 4th bullet point. Now, here's a great definition of what ballot candy is that was used last year, and it came from the Missouri Developmental Disabilities Council. And the main points here is that what it does, the ballot candy doesn't change anything. It's already law, and it pairs things that are popular with a more controversial one as a way to win votes. So then the question is, who is challenging the amendment's ballot language? Yes. Per the Missouri Independent article, the Missouri Association of Realtors has filed suit asking a Cole County judge to order a rewrite of the ballot summary. Now, going back to a point I made earlier, and who the initiative process has served. It's served people from across the spectrum. It's not just progressives. Missouri Association of Realtors is a business group. These guys are not Bolsheviks. And they've been successful in advancing citizen initiative petitions, and they've been frustrated by the inaction of the legislature on many things. So again, there are many people that use the initiative process. Okay, so let's go to what the realtors have said in their suit. They're challenging the ballot language, and here's the official ballot title, okay? And what I'm gonna highlight here is the key restrictive language, which I've got in red. It's buried deep in the official ballot title. You have to go to, it's the number 4. And then in the fair ballot language, we see the same on the yes or no statement. A yes vote will amend the Missouri Constitution to, and again, it's buried deeply in number 4. And then in terms of what a no vote would do, it's very buried deeply in the paragraph. And then this is what the realtors are saying. And if you look on the left-hand side, this is what the realtors are saying. And if you look on the right-hand side, you've got the official ballot title. And so here, remember from the definition of ballot candy from the Missouri Developmental Disabilities Coalition, the ballot candy is already law and distracts from what will really change. And it pairs an idea that might be popular with a more controversial one as a way to win vote. So in the realtor suit, they point out that the first bullet point is already law regarding foreign influence in ballot measure elections. The same thing with the second one. On the left is what the realtors are saying. The same with is that it would punish initiative petition signature fraud. It is already law. As well as the third. This is already law. The third is on regarding hearings. Now, recall that under Missouri law, fair ballot language should be true and impartial. The suit points out that the ballot language fails to advise voters that the amendment seeks to effectively repeal the right of Missouri citizens to use the initiative process. Again, the realtors' arguments are on the left, the Missouri fair ballot language on the right, or the Missouri law on fair ballot language on the right. And I'll highlight the summary statement impermissibly fails to advise voters that HJR 3 repeals the right of Missouri citizens to vote by majority in favor of citizen-led petitions. And that's the central purpose of the measure. It also points out that the ballot language fails to inform the voter that the new restrictions do not apply to ballot measures coming from the legislature. And here's the realtor's key argument. Elimination of the right of Missouri citizens to vote by majority to approve citizen-referred constitutional amendments is the central purpose of the measure. This change impacts a fundamental right. Voters must be notified that the measure will repeal this existing right. And they assert that the General Assembly chose to include the provisions in bullet points 1, 2, and 3, the ballot candy, to conceal, to hide the central purpose of HJR 3, which is to limit citizens' ability to approve citizen-led initiative petitions to amend the Constitution. Okay, so what happens if the ballot language is unchanged? It's going to mean that we will need to do a lot more work to educate voters. And opponents of Amendment 4 would have to spend a lot of money just to educate voters on the misleading language. They will need to explain, the language will likely increase the cost of ballot measures in this election. And how much do ballot measures cost? They cost a lot. And here I've got some figures. The Missouri Reproductive Rights Ballot Initiative cost in total about $32 million. If you go across the state line, the Kansas abortion restriction, $7.5 billion was spent for, and about the same amount was spent against. And 2026 is going to likely set spending records given multiple contentious ballot measures, especially where the ballot language is confusing or misleading. So if the current ballot language is unchanged, it will make it more difficult to educate voters, and voters will need to know, one, they will lose a constitutional right, two, that the ballot language is misleading, and three, that the proposal would shift power away from citizens to the legislature. Okay, so shifting gears just a little bit, what do we have on the shelf right now? Well, we do have something that educates the voters that they have a right, and they have a right that they could lose. Missouri voters need to know that they have that unique power to write laws, and we did create the graphic novel, Missouri Voters Have a Superpower, to explain to voters that valuable right. We've got the novel available on our website and in print. We've also shared the print version with other organizations, for example, with Missouri Jobs with Justice and with the Heartland Alliance for Progress. And in the last election cycle, we distributed 700 print versions and 1,500 unique e-views through October, through last month. Now, interesting thing is, in the last 10 days, we've gotten 140 unique views. That's 140 new people seeing it. So their voters are tuning into this topic, and that's a nice surprise. So I'll stop there, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
You can, though.
Thank you, Greg. And are there any questions in the room or online?
Hello?
We hear you, Greg. Are there any questions from anybody online?
So, Greg, I was wondering, when should the Missouri Association of Realtors have a ruling on their lawsuit that they brought in Cole County?
That's a great question. I don't know. This is all very new because the filing, this came out in I believe it was last Thursday. This came out in an article in the Missouri Independent, and I'll get back to you because I have the date of the filing, but this is all very new. So I would not anticipate hearing anything before the end of this year. And again, I'm just, that's the way things work in terms of how quickly these rulings go. It's probably a spring event.
Any other questions?
Can you all hear me?
Oh, yes, Summer, we can.
Okay, great. Thanks. Sorry, I'm using my phone, which I'm not used to doing for this. I was just wondering, and maybe maybe y'all are going to do this in a bit, but could you talk a little bit about how this it relates with the people Petitions initiative that's where folks are collecting signatures for that and Respect Missouri Voters right now?
Okay, Summer, we actually have our next speaker is going to be from People Not Politicians.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
So I'll just let you, we'll let you
Okay.
hold off on your question.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Pauline?
Is this ballot amendment is that going to be next November?
Yes, right now it's scheduled for next November.
One more question. Is the realtors the only ones that have filed lawsuits against, against the ballot language? I mean, has the league done anything or other organizations?
Greg, you want to answer that?
Yeah, the realtors is the first that I've seen And again, it's early days. I haven't seen anything yet. What I have seen so far from the league, the Missouri League on this has, if you go to the Missouri League website, they've made the statement to vote no against it. I'm not aware of any litigation. Usually what happens in these is that, for example, somebody will file something and then there may be a case where there is an amicus brief filed, but I'm not aware of anything on this. But the realtors are the very first. The realtors, I'll also point out, have been very active in litigation on the initiative petition process in the past.
Okay. I will, Laura, did you have a question?
I just wanted to remind people that one of the ways that you can spread the information about the Citizens Initiative petition, especially being able to read the graphic booklet, is if you give someone one of our business cards, the QR code takes them right to our website. And on our website, they can actually read the graphic novel about the CIP directly on the website.
Okay.
You don't have to be a member that's accessible from our public.
So what Laura is wanting to remind everybody is that on the league card has the QR code that takes you to the website, and you can look at the graphic novel. Missouri voters have a superpower by going to the website, and that's open to both the private, members and non-members alike can get to that. I also want to tell you that the league will be working on a Vote No campaign for this. That's one of the big things in 2026. And in fact, there will be Vote No campaigns on a number of different things that'll be coming up. So that's one thing that we hope that you'll be watching and read the e-voter and keep up with what's happening with the league, because there is going to be a lot going on next year.
Don't forget to look at our Take Action button on the website. Once again, it's on the public page as well as our members page.
Okay.
If you click on that Take Action button, you have literally how to call, you have calling script.
Okay, and Laura's reminding everybody as well to look at the Take Action button on the website. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is we've already heard that the legislative session that will be starting again in January, they're going to make even more restrictions to the initiative petition process. And they do that by making it just harder every little step of the way. When you see the petitions, when they're filed, the ink has to be in a certain color. The dots have to be in a certain position. The lettering has to be exactly right, or they will kick it out. And they will continue to make this process more difficult, even this next legislature. So, which brings me to, Brandy is here. The Legislative Action Committee is now a state committee, and if you have any interest on helping that committee follow legislation this next term, please talk to Brandy Blackburn. All right, thank you, Greg. Our next speaker today is going to talk about another major happening of the second extraordinary session, and that is the legislators voted on a new map, a new congressional map. And the new map affects many of the members of our league. And in fact, it affected me. So there is a group out there trying to get signatures on a referendum to prevent those new maps from passing by themselves. They would rather have the people vote on whether that new map should be accepted or not. So we have a speaker today, Benjamin Ressler, who is a field coach and leader for the organization People Not Politicians, the organization working to overturn the midterm congressional map. Benjamin and his wife, who's also with us today, called the Northeast Kansas City area home. So Benjamin, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us, and everyone at home, thank you for joining us as well. Oh, okay.
Just one moment for technical.
I have USB-C, but I
Okay.
also can just speak from the heart. I don't necessarily need.
Oh, I can.
Do I need to like push a button or something?
In your email, it should have just sent an email just requesting. Okay, yeah.
Well, hey everyone, sorry for the delay. I'm Benjamin and I'm a volunteer for People Not Politicians. We're a nonpartisan effort to put forth a referendum that is the citizens' veto initiative of the gerrymandered maps that have been put forth through the Missouri legislature. I did also bring a couple copies of this little handout that we have. We're getting killed on how much printing we have to do. You'll see over there, those are the packets right there, and they do have the full language. So just to get 10 signatures, you need that many pieces of legal length paper. It is insane, and people want to know what it is that they're signing, right? But like, I can't just tear the sheet off. So let me just get a little more into like what is happening and why I've decided to get involved. And then at the end, I'm going to ask you to get involved. And I bet you a lot of you have already signed this petition. How many folks went to the No Kings Day rally? You love to see it. The vibes are immaculate in here. That's incredible. What a great day that was, too. Both of them. I've been to a lot of protests in my life, and both of those, just so many seniors and families with children and veterans and clergy all just speaking out, because this is, in my opinion, this issue with the redistricting is as nonpartisan as it gets, right? Like, either party would be horrified if the other party was doing it. And we are seeing similar efforts all across the country. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what it is that's exactly happening and what we want to do about it. So what is this referendum? It is a citizens veto initiative. So these maps were put forth in the legislature with no data. So it's normal to redistrict when population data shows that populations have shifted. Oh, more people live here now than they did 10 years ago. So we need to have districts that fairly represent the people. That's a normal thing. No data has been presented to support why these maps need to be redrawn or in the way that they were redrawn. There was also no debate in the legislature. There was no discussion of it, just a vote. And of course, there is one party has a supermajority in the legislature, so the vote is really a formality. It's pretty much meaningless. And it was also signed into law by the governor. The third aspect is that there's no source of these maps. No one from Missouri has raised their hand and said, I drew this map, and here's why I think the border should go where I put them. I'm going to show you now. I'm going to come closer and show it to you. The current congressional district maps and then the proposed congressional district maps. Just a moment. And for the folks at home, I'm going to bring it up to the camera so that you can see it. This is the current map right here. And this is the proposed map right here. I want to draw your attention to District 5, which is where we're standing right now. This is Kansas City. That's District 5. This would be. What you can't see here is this tiny little sliver of Kansas City that would be put into District 4. Now, this huge swath of central and southern Missouri would be put into District 5. And this tiny sliver of District 5 would be put into this massive swath of northeast, central, and northwest Missouri. So this is the current map. So why are we opposing this? Because it disenfranchises Missouri voters, plain and simple. That's why the source of this map is really important. And I'm just going to say in as neutral language and as nonpartisan language as possible, that the source of this map is certainly, shall we say, powerful out-of-state interests. No one from Missouri asked for this. No Missouri voters or legislators said, we need to redraw these maps because the population data has shifted. I personally believe, and I don't want to dwell on my personal politics too much, but politics is personal, that these come from powerful out-of-state interests. Why am I here today with you, and why did I
Sorry to interrupt. We aren't hearing any sound online.
Okay, and I am also gonna make one other change. I'm gonna run the video off of this.
Okay.
Yeah, so just stay in front of it.
Fair. So why else is this bad? It is a power grab. It's clearly an effort to steal power from the voters. It has been opposed by a coalition of Republicans and Democrats. And I've had a lot of success actually getting Republicans to sign my petition, and I'm going to get into that specific aspect of the call to action in a second here. But it's just deeply unpopular. Most Americans say that gerrymandering is bad for either a constitutional republic or a direct democracy, particularly when you have elected representatives in a republic. Gerrymandering is particularly bad, but it just disenfranchises everyone, and numerous polls show that most Americans are against gerrymandering in general. So the other reason I'm here today is to talk about actually gathering signatures. Have any of you been volunteering for any of the signature gathering initiatives so far? Thank you so much for your support. I got involved because honestly, I was tired of feeling hopeless. I don't know if any of you feel similarly, but it seems like there's a lot going on that's out of my control. And this was an action that I could take. I attended a training, it was 1 hour, and I was out of there with packets, and I had signatures later that night. And so far, I have gathered 365 myself. We as an organization have gathered over 200,000 statewide. Yes, wow is right. It's incredible how fast, how much momentum has gotten behind this. It just goes to show that this is really a nonpartisan issue, and that the people don't want this. No one in Missouri wants this, and people have been very eager to sign the petition. If you have any interest in getting involved, we have lots of opportunities to get trained to gather signatures. But also I want to point out that if any of you are notaries, and I know a couple of you are, that has also been a really important part of this effort, is to not only gather the signatures, but do so in a legally valid way so that they get submitted properly to first the Secretary of State, and then as they're checked at the county clerks for the voter's office. So just real quick, I'm going to grab a visual aid. I'll be right back, folks. I'll be right back. And I'll walk this one around as well. And I will share an anecdote too before I go any further. I started just as a volunteer just a few weeks ago, and as of No King's Day, I was given the opportunity to be a field coach for various groups that were gathering on No King's Day and on Election Day. And what we found on Election Day, which is an excellent time to gather signatures because you know you're speaking to registered voters, and you also know that they're registered in the same county. That's another reason we've been going through so much paper, is that all the signatures on one petition have to be from the same county, because they then get sent back to that county clerk to check against the voting records. One of the reasons I bring that up is because a lot of our organizers and our volunteers, and most of our volunteers are women, were harassed by paid out-of-state agitators who also showed up at the polling place to interfere with their signature gathering efforts. So when I say powerful out-of-state interests, I mean these people were being paid hundreds of dollars. They were being bussed in from out of state and put up in hotels and fed, with the explicit purpose of distracting our signature gatherers and having people yell at these women, don't sign, refuse to sign, do your research, which I'm sure we've all heard a lot of that over the last few years. Know who did their research is the people who wrote this petition. And this effort is going to succeed. They're getting desperate enough to pay hundreds of dollars to send people to harass our volunteers, which means we are winning, but we can't stop and we can't take our feet off the gas, and we have to keep gathering signatures until this gets qualified for ballot access. The nature of this petition is that we're trying to put a referendum on the ballot next November in 2026, and we need enough signatures in each congressional district to get qualified for this referendum. Then, as Greg was pointing out, the language of the referendum itself and the summary of the referendum itself is going to be crucial, and there will be misinformation and there will be disinformation about what this referendum is, what the language truly says, versus what they want you to believe that it says. Since this whole effort is about them cheating, I wouldn't put it past them to do so in the language of the ballot or into how these signatures are counted. So I'm just going to show you, in case you do feel like joining us very briefly, a key to what a valid signature sheet looks like. Everything in red here can only be completed by the notary or the county clerk. So I've actually taken and put in a piece of masking tape for my signature sheet that we can read. Everything in orange, I as the circulator fill out, but only while I'm in front of the notary. And they watch me do it the whole time. Everything in green is the name of the county of the voters who are signing the petition. Except for this one, which is the county where I'm getting the signatures nowhere. Or one of our notaries as well, and she did bring a petition as well, which I'm hoping if you haven't signed already, then you will. You've probably also seen some reporting in the media about how the Missouri Attorney General and the Missouri Secretary of State are bringing lawsuits against their organization, trying to throw out some of the signatures that we've gathered so far. And have even gone so far as to say that any signatures gathered before a certain date are a misdemeanor election offense. To which I say, come and get me 200 times. We believe all those signatures are valid. They were gathered in good faith. The people who signed them were eager to do so and oppose this law. And we are proceeding as if all those signatures are valid, which we believe they are. And there is a lawsuit pending about that. I guess I've said almost all the stuff. I'm trying to think of anything else that I could say. Yes, ma'am.
My vote was the last day.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so we have until December 6th to get all of these signatures notarized and turned in. So really that means a few days before that. So there is very little time. But I'm sure each of you know 10 people who would be willing to sign. Yes, ma'am.
There's been questions about how we write Kansas City, Missouri, how it's, you know.
Oh, yes.
That people sign the petition.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for bringing that up.
Doesn't count, it's all kind of confusing.
I've heard that too, and what the other organizers have told us is you can't control what people write down. You can guide them as they're doing it, but not only do a lot of people write KCMO, a lot of people in Independence, where I was gathering the other day, just said, just put in depth. And I was begging them to spell it out. I will take the time to point out that Missouri's literacy rate is in the bottom tier. And it's partially because of things like this. This is what happens when voters are disenfranchised. This is the things that we do want, like well-funded schools, which is another thing that we voted on. And there are 5 petitions going around right now. There's this one for People Not Politicians, which is about the gerrymandering. There's the signatures for the Respect Mo Voters, which is about the citizens initiative process that Greg was bringing up earlier. But there's also one about a constitutional amendment to guarantee quality public education to all Missouri residents. That's another petition that's going around right now. But that just tells you what the legislature will only do anything that we make them do. And we voted on amendments last year that passed by huge margins bigger than the presidential election, which tells you that they have bipartisan support, that the numbers prove that both parties were voting yes or no. But you all know the initiatives that I'm talking about. There was women's reproductive freedom, paid sick leave, the minimum wage, so on and so forth. We approved a lot. And speaking of the margins, so Greg presented earlier that all we need is a simple majority. Around the country, there were other measures, for instance, for decriminalizing cannabis or what have you, that had to pass by 10% or more. And because they passed by 58% or more, they didn't pass. And that's another example of, you know, rigging the rules in favor, rather than in favor of democracy, in favor of powerful out-of-state interests. Right? So I cannot stress enough how serious this moment is and how grateful I am to each of you for even just being here listening to me and for having our organization and giving us a few minutes to speak to you. Yes, there are concerns about how people write their address on there. There's concerns that they're going to try to throw out half of these. And that's why it's even more important to me. Every single one that I gather matters to me, because I make sure that they're all going to get notarized and turned in. And I want to thank all of you who have signed it already or who have spent time volunteering as a notary or as a circulator. Thank you so much. And if you haven't signed yet, there is a packet over there. Are there any other questions for us? Yes, ma'am.
Hasn't gotten trained yet, go to the training, it's really easy, and then what I did is I texted everybody on my street, said, hey, I'm on my porch, I've got the petitions, come on over, I'll be happy to, you know, explain them to you, et cetera. There are people who are literally putting themselves on next door, hey, I've got the People Not Politicians petition, if you wanna come to sign it, I'll be home between, 2 and 4, whatever. But what Benjamin's saying about, you can usually get 10 signatures, it is so easy to get 10 signatures. And for the people who say something like, I learned this from 2 of the people who brought petitions to be notarized. I was notarizing on Tuesday on election day. And they said, oh, well, if someone says, oh, I like the redistricting. These two people said, great, sign this, because when it ends up on the ballot, you'll be able to vote the way that you want your vote to be counted. So I thought that was,
That's a really important point, and I thank you for bringing that up. I've actually had a lot of success in having Republicans and conservatives sign this petition for a couple reasons. I speak their language. My father and my stepmom are lifelong conservatives, so I'm very familiar with the values and the things that they care about. This is truly nonpartisan in that they don't want gerrymandering either. Even if they think that this is in favor of them in the short term, it could backfire. Because as I said, it's a voter base of 60-40 Kamala, right? Or Congressman Cleaver. So that will affect the people who live in rural districts who want to see their representation be Republican. This is also just to put it on the ballot to let the voters decide. So that's the other thing that I've pointed out to anybody who says things like that, or who's telling me like, obviously I lean that way. Great, we're all leaning, right? This is just to put it on the ballot, which is as nonpartisan as it gets, in my opinion. But thank you for pointing that out. And on that note, I will say, like, if any of you have ever felt like a blue dot in a red ocean, the other thing that I've really gotten from this movement is just meeting other people who care about rights and who also feel like we should be represented well. And the last thing I'll say is that there is hope. The arc of history bends towards justice and liberty. They cannot do this forever. And the amount of momentum that I see fighting back tells me that we are winning, but we can't let up on the gas. So please, thank you so much.
Are there any other questions for Benjamin? I'm in front of the screen. Are there any questions for Benjamin? Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. And I will tell you that I am one of the notaries that is down there, and I know Laura is and others. And our league is very well represented in this endeavor because I see our league members coming down and turning in their petitions. And I want to remind our volunteers that are doing that, please keep track of your time. These are volunteer hours, and I want you to be able to turn them in, and we want to be able to see how much of an impact our members are making, not only for this particular endeavor, but other endeavors as well. The league again supports this endeavor, people, not politicians, and it's extremely important because of the cutoff date. So if you haven't signed yet, I'm gonna repeat what he says. Please get it signed as soon as possible, and we can get those turned in. Does anybody else have any other questions from either Greg or from Benjamin? Anything in the chat? Okay. Well, we've come to a time, I don't know.
Hey, Melanie,
Yes,
this is Sin McCardle.
okay.
Quick question. This was for Greg. So if there are other groups, and I know that we're nonpartisan, but what if there are partisan groups that would be interested in hearing like the information that Greg presented?
Oh, that information is available on our webpage, and I know Greg and the voter education team will be happy to present it to anybody that
Okay,
requests it.
Okay, well, I'm thinking of 2 or 3 groups that, just to begin, that I actually kind of wonder if it wouldn't be something that would be beneficial. And I think sometimes people have a lot of questions. So, I mean, we can direct them to a website, but I also think it'd be nice. I'd like to explore the idea of maybe someone from the committee presenting.
Greg, you want
Yes.
to answer?
Yeah, Sin, Melanie had it right. We would be interested. We are, one of the things that you just mentioned that is great is that you bring us an audience. And audience building is something that's very important for us. We are reaching out to a number of groups. We actually, just to plug something else, we are rolling out online media literacy training, so you can also include that in the mix too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just send me an email and we can talk and we can flesh this out.
Okay. Yeah, I can think of a number of groups, though they are partisan, but I'll just say that I think they would probably be really interested in those two topics.
Yeah, I mean, we're nonpartisan, but we'll talk to any organization, and we'll present the information.
Okay, sounds great. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Laura, if you have I don't know if they can hear you. So if you have something, or I'll repeat what you say.
That contact me about things to do between now and over the holidays for the league, I would refer everyone to our website, which is why I mentioned the take action button. But the other thing you can do, you hear about all the pots we have our fingers in, make a donation. Because it takes money to print the, superpower booklet about the CIP. It takes money to, just to print all the things we do. It takes money to advance the work of the league. So if you can, put the league on your list of organizations that you want to donate to because you support the work they do, that would be really terrific.
Laura, do you do that on the website or where
Yes,
should
the
we go?
website has a donate button, both on the public and the member page.
So lwbkc.org.
Gets you to our website. If you're a member, you will log in. If you're one of the many in the public who use our website to get information about voting and voting related issues, you'll also see a donate button.
So Laura's reminding us that sometimes our work takes funding. And if you are so inclined, you can go to the website at lwbkc.org and there is a donate button. And I'm sure people not politicians also has a website where they will also take donations for their cause. So are there any other questions or statements? I'm going to ask if there are any committee chairs that are on the Zoom or in person that have any announcements that they want to make. Laura, I'm going to make you come to the microphone this time.
But,
They want to see you too.
if you are new to the league or you've been with us for a while and just want a refresher on what we're about, our last new member orientation of the year will be Wednesday, December 3rd. And if you thought getting out of bed this morning when it was chilly was tough, guess what? It's on Zoom. So it's on Zoom from 7 to 8. You can attend in your jams if you want. I might. And the link is on the member page because the new member orientation is for those people who are members of the league. So that's our last orientation. And then just a hint, be looking in the new year for information about mix and mingle events that are going to be in the different geographic areas that our league serves. We're a big league right now, and we're in the Northland, we're in Midtown, we're East, we're South. And so we're going to start having events just where you can get together and chat with other league members about whatever you want. And we're going to have them at different locations in the our league area. So you can attend right close to where you live, or you can go and see what's happening in an area you're not in. Okay, so that's a coming event.
Any other committee chairs?
Thanks. I'm not the chair, but I'll just mention for Joyce Meetings Committee that we will be having a meeting right after this meeting just to talk about future topics that folks are interested in. and we'll have some bubbly drinks and just try to identify some topics that members are interested in for future meetings.
Okay. I was looking, does Rita, can you want to give people a recap of the Peace, Love, Vote fundraiser?
Well, actually, I wanted to alert them to the fact that Giving Tuesday is December 2nd. And that is the day where you give to your favorite nonprofit organizations, which is us. So I just wanted to remind you of that. And also for year-end giving, we are extremely grateful for anybody who decides to help us out. Clearly, all the organizations have a lot of expenses that need to be covered. Just not the printing costs, but a lot of other costs as well. And so I just wanted to put that out there. As far as the Peace, Love, Vote event went, we did slightly better than last year. I think Anne is still here. She's actually the fundraising chair. So she probably has more information about that than I do. But don't forget Giving Tuesday and year end. Thank you.
When is Giving Tuesday?
December 2nd.
December 2nd.
Yes.
Tuesday after Thanksgiving. Okay. Anybody else? I don't know if Anne was there.
I'm here,
Okay.
and all I will add is that we sold out this year, and that we do plan to have it in the same location next year, perhaps raising ticket prices or doing some other things to make a little bit more money. But it was a great success, and we thank all the volunteers for helping. We sure had a lot of fun. Thank you.
All right. I don't see anybody else's hands up. I don't see anybody here. So I'm going to go ahead and end today's meeting. I want to thank Janelle and Joyce for putting together this meeting. Some good information was given out to us today, and we know that our work is cut out for us next year. So hopefully we'll get a lot of you on board and get you all some tasks that you can help us get through. With that, again, no meeting in December or January. Stay safe, everybody, and let us know. If you have any suggestions, please, there's a form that you can fill out on the website, or contact me or contact committee chairs or your board and give us your input. All right, thank you.